Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest NXT edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and it is Thursday, so normally you would know exactly what that means. We would be here to talk all things NXT and AEW, but just being completely frank and honest with all of you here, our Getting Overheads, our loyal listeners, Silver King's had a tough week. Some stuff going on with my dog. He's totally fine, but sick. It's taken a lot of my time, and work has been absolutely crazy. Tons of stuff going on in sports, college football, and the NFL right now. So it's pretty much been impossible to watch as much professional wrestling as I normally would. Consequently, I have been unable to watch both AEW Collision and AEW Dynamite from the last week. I still have not had the opportunity to listen to Tony Khan's interview with Ariel Helwani. Still have not been able to watch the AAA shows that have involved WWE main roster talent of late and NXT talent as well. So Silver King's just behind. However, this weekend is NXT Deadline, the final WWE premium live event of the year. Of course, it's a huge show. And I figured since I did watch NXT and I was able to provide you with an ultimate preview, as we always do, ahead of premium live events and pay-per-views, let's go ahead, create a show, get it out into the feed, have everyone get their preview for NXT Deadline. We'll still come back on Saturday night with your NXT Deadline instant analysis. And Silver King will just have to, suck it up, and next week do a double dose of AEW in this spot. We'll cover 8 hours of Dynamite and Collision combined. And it'll be a lot for us to go through, but we will get it done. I'll try to have the Ariel Helwani interview listened to as well. Let's not forget, next week is going to be your WWE Saturday Night's Main Event Ultimate Preview for John Cena's last match. We have a special edition of the show, about John Cena's entire career, a retrospective. It's also probably going to serve as a solo episode that previews his retirement in terms of what this last year was like. What we expect from his final match. We'll probably save some of it for that show. So we just have a lot still to come here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. But as I said, I did not want to go through this week and only give you, the WWE show and then an NXT Deadline instant analysis when we need to talk about everything that happened on the final NXT before that show. So that is what we're going to do in this space. And ahead of time, I'm going to appreciate all of your understanding that we will go ahead and circle back to AEW next week. With that said, here off the top of the show, allow us to remind you that here at Getting Over,
it's all about the five.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. You can also vote in pre- and post-show polls before and after NXT Deadline this coming Saturday. On YouTube, when you subscribe over there, you can listen to full-length audio episodes and watch full-length video interviews, our 2 latest conversations with Natalia and Ethan Page, the latter of which has, of course, been getting major press of late. So be sure to follow us across the board on social media at Getting Overcast. Now, there are still timestamps in the episode description because we're going to talk briefly about NXT, how it does not relate to NXT Deadline. And then, of course, we're going to have your NXT Deadline Ultimate Preview, taking the go-home content from Tuesday night and factoring it in as we give you analysis, predictions, and expectations moving out of NXT Deadline into New Year's Eve, the first TV special for WWE in 2026. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tavian Heights fought Josh Briggs. Heights hit a real nice cradle power slam before lifting Briggs and just driving him through the ringside barricade in a spot that we see a bunch, but this one felt more violent than usual. Briggs ripped a thick chain necklace off and tried to use it, which distracted the referee. Heights hit his belly-to-belly suplex. I believe he uses that as his finisher, but that got a rope break. When Heights argued, Briggs booted him in the back of the head, hit a lariat, got the win. Nice match here. Briggs is doing well as a heel. His ceiling, frankly, it's not as high as I thought it was going to be when I first saw him wrestle in Evolve back in the day before WWE owned it. But he's definitely a solid mid-carder. He knows how to get heat. Heights flashed better here than he has in some of his last few matches. So this was really a step up for both guys. I still think Heights would do well getting a second excursion over to Japan, but as long as he keeps progressing in WWE in the United States, it'll be fine. This was a real intense match, more so than I expected, and it was one of the highlights, actually, of the entire show. But you know who I really miss on NXT? I was just thinking about this as I sat down to tape today. Yoshiki Inamura. Like, for all the crossovers that have been kind of bleh from TNA and AAA everywhere else, him coming over from Pro Wrestling Noah, that was such a breath of fresh air for the brand. He is unlike anyone else in NXT these days, or he was, I should say, unlike anyone else NXT had. They just don't have like international talent on there like they always used to during Black and Gold and just a few months ago too, when Stephanie Vaquer and Julia were wrecking shop. And Inamura coming back, I believe he's the Pro Wrestling Noah champion right now. Congratulations to him. But coming back, he would really raise the rent. And I think people would buy into him as maybe even a North American championship holder, for being honest. Thea Hale fought Ariana Grace. Hale big up Joe Hendry backstage. He was thrilled that John Cena believed in him, put him in the Iron Survivor Challenge. Stacks and Grace walked by talking shit and laughing, saying Thea let Joe down at Gold Rush, whereas they're a real power couple, and that set up a match. Hendry gave Stacks a standing ovation on the ring apron. Thea tapped out Ariana with Kimura lock. That's it, man. It was ridiculously short. I don't understand why Thea is not allowed to wrestle real matches. I presume this is going to be a mixed tag team match after Deadline for TV. It was largely a waste of time. Shiloh Hill got his third promo vignette telling a story about crashing in a snowmobile way in front of the rest of his friends and family in the woods. He assumed he would freeze to death, but went into survival mode, becoming one with the earth. He laughed about the idea of being eaten by wolves and then flipped to talking about The Undertaker as his LFG coach. Then he said he would finish up next week after he finds his bleach. You know, the analysis here is the same as it's been for the last couple of weeks. The guy is personality plus, right? It's clearly an interesting, talented character. I just have no idea what exactly they are doing here, nor do I know whether it's ultimately going to work. Out the Mud threatened Andre Chase after they almost got hit in the parking lot by the Chase U boys who were driving their Tesla with loud blaring music. Chase yelled at them and they didn't feign having an issue with it this time. They just argued right back at him. I have no idea what Chase U is supposed to be anymore. This trio is not working. Everyone involved is worse off. All three of them. I don't get it at all.
I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
And OTM later beat Chase U as expected. They destroyed them to the point that they pulled up on 2 counts. OTM did an assisted gutbuster onto a knee. Uriah Connors got a hot tag with a step-through tornado DDT and a bottom rope springboard cutter. OTM ultimately caught them flying outside, hitting their really odd finisher. It's tough to tell whether these guys just like have size and strength or whether they've actually improved in the ring at all. Chase U, you know, the talent, it's okay. They flash a little bit. They don't get me excited. This just left me wondering, like, where's Jada Parker? Like, when I see OTM on screen and I don't see Jada Parker for months, it's like, what's happened? Is she injured? Is she sick? Like, fingers crossed she's okay. Is she on the outs with WWE? I hope not. But she straight up disappeared, man. And that was my takeaway from this. When you have 4 people wrestling and you don't care about any of them, and then you're like, where's Jada Parker? It tells you you're doing a poor job with the 4 people who are wrestling. And also, where the hell is Jada Parker? Ava also got a mystery package filled with black something on the show. I couldn't tell if it was like feathers, pieces of fabric, confetti. I don't know what that was supposed to be. By the way, like, also, where's Tony D'Angelo? Was this Tony's hat all cut up? Is he going to debut on the main roster and he's written off? I know he got time off for like something personal. So, you know, I hope he's dealing with that and everything's okay individually. But like, when's he coming back? That's a question I've been having for quite some time. So that was everything on NXT that does not directly have to do with NXT Deadline. It kind of allows us to do a quick transition here into the NXT Deadline Ultimate Preview. There are 5 matches on this card. We're going to break down all of them along with what happened on the Go Home NXT. We'll give you picks and predictions, analysis on what we expect to happen going forward. And at the end, we will give you a pre-show expectation grade. But as we do begin to talk about NXT Deadline, I need to remind you that whether it's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or premium live events on Netflix, even Saturday night's main event on YouTube, I'm all in these days with NordVPN. It's easy to set up. It's a drastically better viewing experience. You get high quality streams and you get commercial-free shows. That's really the key. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, click connect to another country like Canada, open Netflix, and watch the show. That's going to be crucial for NXT Deadline this weekend, especially for those of you who don't have Peacock in the United States. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and avoid online threats. Plus, one NordVPN account can be used on 10 different devices. To get the best discount from NordVPN, just go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk. Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. It is great to have NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of your boys right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. The North American Championship will be on the line. Ethan Page defending against Mr. Iguana. Page exited the arena, entered his car on Tuesday night, saying it was clear he wasn't needed either for that show or NXT Deadline because he wasn't in the Iron Survivor Challenge match. John Cena decided to give him the night off. He and Ava got into a sarcastic back and forth that may legitimately have been the most personality Ava has ever shown. She actually came across natural and unscripted here. Iguana was waiting in the car, scaring Paige and driving off in his vehicle. Paige is there like demanding. She's like, Ava, call the cops. What are you doing? Ava retorts, what am I going to say? A reptile stole your car? Hysterical. Like I said, her best segment ever in NXT. Best since the Roxanne Perez beef. Paige and Iguana, they've been feuding in AAA over the mixed tag team titles, so this was not entirely random. And Paige being on PLEs, that's important because he's among the best on the entire brand. This did feel unnecessary when they could have bubbled up like a more active feud in the company for this show. It was kind of just thrown onto the card at the last minute. That's how it felt to me. In terms of a prediction, Ethan Page is retaining the title. I mean, Mr. Iguana's over. It's cool that he's getting pushed. Great that he's getting opportunities both on the main roster and in NXT here and there, more so in NXT, obviously. But you're not going to end Ethan Page's tremendous North American Championship reign by having Iguana beat him in a match that was bubbled up, whatever it is, 4 or 5 days earlier. It's not going to happen. So Paige retains the title. Tatum Paxley will indeed fight Izzy Dame. Izzy led out the culling, started talking trash to the fans, but the entire opening of her promo was muted. I guess they were chanting the F word at her, but it was ridiculous. Dame claimed that she didn't betray Paxley. She corrected a mistake once she realized that she could never be her equal. Izzy said her guidance, they weren't suggestions, all those different, suggestions that she gave her, but demands they were. And she dug Tatum out of her depressing hellhole, tried to make her into something, and Tatum just kind of kept pulling her way back. She called Paxley selfish and stubborn before getting distracted a little bit by the crowd. She was proud to take everything from Tatum because that's what she's owed, everything, and she should not be ignored. Izzy said she would do whatever she needs to do in order to end her. Paxley answered on the Titantron in the culling room with mascara running down her face, presumably from crying. She said Dame took what she wanted the most, the title. Now, obviously, Izzy isn't champion, but she forced her to drop the title. Izzy called her pathetic and predictable, also called her too scared to face her. Tatum said she is scared because she's going to make Izzy feel all of her pain at Deadline. This was not exactly what I wanted, considering the betrayal was so devastating, and they had really built up this relationship. This was Izzy's first extended promo work, so it was understandably rough. Also, her hands were like 2 shades of tan darker than her face, which was really weird. Tatum just doing a sad little promo, it was lacking. I expected something much more intense. I wanted her filled with rage. I understand this was rage boiling under the surface. That was the idea. It just really wasn't what I anticipated from her. Maybe we will see that come out in the match. Because the only backing that Izzy has are 2 men, I wouldn't expect that much involvement from them. And at this point, I mean, yes, you could drag it out. Like Dame could win and Izzy could go away for a month and then come back and so on and so forth. I just don't really see them doing a long drawn out feud. I do believe Tatum is going to win the title back unless she gets called up to the main roster. See, that's always the thing here, right? Because you could call her up anytime and put her with Lyra Valkyria on Raw. I don't know that she would succeed on her own on SmackDown. I mean, let's put it, this way. No one individually, women-wise, would survive on SmackDown getting called up these days. But if, you could call her up, and I don't know that they're planning to do that. I'm going to assume they're not. If they are, Izzy wins. But if they're not, I don't believe this needs to be a feud that gets dragged out 2-3 months where you have multiple matches and a stipulation and you finally get over it. I think Tatum just needs to win. And then they separate this and she is a, upper mid-card main event level babyface on this brand, and she wins the title at Stand and Deliver. I mean, that's what the Silver King would do if he had the book. So I have Tatum Paxley beating Izzy Dame in this spot. Could I see it going the other way? Yes. But I mean, it's one thing to already cut her title reign so ridiculously short. It's quite another to then have her lose to someone who is lesser than her, if we're being completely fair. Izzy's young. I think she's younger in age, but certainly in experience and talent. I don't think you have Tatum lose this match. So I'm predicting Paxley goes over here. NXT Championship will be on the line. And yes, we are speaking about it early for a reason. Ricky Saints defending against Oba Femi. A contract signing took up the final few minutes of NXT. It was rather boilerplate from both guys. The announcement was that it would actually open Deadline, which is obviously unique considering the stakes and star power involved here, plus the fact that there are 2 stipulation matches that are going to go 35 minutes. Generally, you open a show with one of those, you close with the other to separate them as much as you possibly can. That made me believe the men's Iron Survivor will actually main event when the women should be main eventing, let's be clear. But I believe the men will, and the winner will have a confrontation with Saints or Femi. Like, that's where I see this going. And, you know, again, there's 2 minds here. Are you calling up Ricky Saints? If you are not, and you're leaving him in NXT, you cannot have him drop the title because he's already won the North American Championship, dropped it quick. You can't then have him lose the NXT Championship a couple months after he wins it to the guy he beat for it, and then have him stay there and do absolutely nothing. It wouldn't make a shred of sense. So again, the prediction here is based purely on, is this guy getting called up now? I don't believe there's a necessity for him in WWE on the road to WrestleMania. I do believe he should be on the main roster as soon as possible, but I think that's probably the Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania at the earliest. I just don't see what they would do with him right now. That, like I said, they don't have a spot for him. They don't have a need for him at this time from a storyline standpoint, unless he was the masked mystery attacker, which he was too small to be, and clearly it's not him. And also that wouldn't make that much sense, putting a guy his age into a Vision faction that is supposed to be about youth and growing the industry. I don't believe you can take the title off of him in this spot and have Oba beat him. I do think Oba Femi should be champion going into Stand and Deliver. And I do believe that coming out of Stand and Deliver, Javon Evans should be the champion. But again, you're not going to change the title to Oba and then have Javon win the Iron Survivor and beat Oba for the title in 3 weeks. Like, that's not going to happen, or 4 weeks, whatever it is for New Year's Evil. If you're going to do that storyline and you are going to strap up Javon with the main title, that needs a multi-month build. Similarly, I don't see Javon beating Ricky Saints for the title. You know, that's not the right feud. They did have a fun backstage segment in NXT. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But that to me was more of a tease of what's possible rather than a tease of what's most likely going to happen. So I have Saints retaining the title here over Femi. And I just think that's going to be ultimately the right decision. Have him retain here. Maybe there's an interference or a distraction or Oba gets hurt in kayfabe or something like that. And I would do a third match between them, you know, probably in February, let's say. Whenever that first, at Vengeance Day. Vengeance Day, I think, is the first premium live event of 2026. I would do a rematch between them at Vengeance Day. And at that point, you have Oba win the title. And then Ricky can do a loser, you know, type of match in March and then be off TV for a couple months, then get called up to the main roster. So Ricky Saints retains the NXT Championship here at Deadline. Men's Iron Survivor. Javon Evans, Leon Slater, Joe Hendry, Miles Bourne, and Deion Lennox all competing. Ava backstage decreed that whichever babyface gets the fall in a scheduled 8-man tag team match would get to choose his entry point in Iron Survivor. But if Dark State wins, Lennox gets the choice. NXT Anonymous later found Evans and Saints busting balls backstage, with Ricky primarily supporting Evans as like a potential number 1 contender. It went on way longer than I expected. It was a pretty interesting, candid interaction between a pair of baby faces, almost as if they were setting up Saints for a heel turn if Evans does wind up winning this match. Lennox later offered his half of the tag team championship to the faction, with Cutler James basically forcing Saquon Sugars to take the strap because he deserves it more. Definitely the right call. Slightly odd way to go about doing it. Would have preferred they all cite him as the leader or something, which just would have made it more of a no-brainer type of move. Anyway, Femi walked up with Saquon Sugars clowning his accent. Deion Lennox reminded that Oba blew him off last time they were in that spot together, which was a pretty good callback. That was like 6 months ago, maybe a little bit longer. Lennox said he hoped Femi wins the title so that way he can take his gold and knock his teeth out. Probably the best promo Lennox has cut in his entire career. Came across authentic and strong as hell. Femi is usually dominant over whoever he stands beside, but Lennox, he got the better of him here. And I was really interested in the idea of Oba winning the title at Deadline and Lennox winning Iron Survivor and then matching up at New Year's Evil, because then Oba would win, and then Javon could be waiting in the wings for that match, like I mentioned, at Stand and Deliver. So I was really into this concept. And if this is what they end up doing, I think that'll be positive. In terms of the tag team title switch, obviously sensible, even though Sugars is the one who should be getting the singles elevation. Really, Dark State should have been freebirding these titles since the beginning. It's really odd they were not. So we had Evans, Slater, Hendry, and Bourne against Dark State. Action was hot from the opening bell. Javon hit a tope suicida on Saquon, flinging both of them completely over the announce table. Then he ran across the ring for a tope con hero splash, plus a springboard lariat. He followed with a cutter and a double jump springboard cutter for a broken fall. Evans hit red dot. Slater blind tagged for the Swanton 450, only for Bourne to blind tag again, hit the zigzag, and get the win. He claimed the advantage spot in the match. The babyface side winning actually made the stipulation here pretty damn interesting. They didn't want to cost each other the match, but were nevertheless pissed that Miles outsmarted them at the end. It was a nice wrinkle for Iron Survivor. It goes along the lines of what we've been talking about for Survivor Series War Games in terms of creating stakes for a match that otherwise wouldn't have them. Real hot match, great main event, all things considered. There was a lot of young talent in this ring together. Now, when we do a match like Iron Survivor, Elimination Chamber, whatever, we kind of do process of elimination when it comes to who we believe will ultimately win. And I think you can knock two people immediately off the top. Bourne just challenged for the NXT Championship, did well enough against Oba, certainly doesn't need another opportunity, so you cut him out. Leon Slater's a TNA talent. While he is immensely talented, you're not bubbling him up for an NXT Championship match on your first TV special of 2026. Maybe you do it on a random episode of TV where, he bumps into someone backstage, they get angry, they get a title shot, something like that. You're not building to a TNA talent challenging for the title. So I'm crossing off Leon Slater. That leaves us with Javon, Hendry, and Lennox. The storyline for Javon is last year he came seconds away from winning the match. And this year, then, he would go ahead and win it. And he is the most exciting talent overall in this match, which is really made for someone like him to win. You saw it to a lesser extent with Trick Williams. I mean, that was an incredible finish. But imagine if it was Javon in that spot. With his athleticism, how much more smoothly he wrestles, it would have been incredible. But I don't think they can go back and kind of do a finish like that again. Joe Hendry is newest to the brand, but he's also kind of not been doing anything recently. He's working with Thea Hale, sure, but I mean, this is a guy that you're signing and you had him involved at the top of your card initially. And he was obviously TNA champion. And now you have him just existing. That doesn't make sense. It almost feels like it's him lying in wait for his next push, which might be here. And then you have Dion Lennox, who obviously did the backstage segment with Oba. And if you are switching the title to Femi, then making him the first challenger, as I mentioned earlier, it just works because you get past Lennox, you have him beat someone else at Vengeance Day, and then you bubble up the Javon match for Deadline. So it's a tough prediction here. Usually going into these matches, I know who is going to win. Not saying I actually know it. No one has spoiled it to me, but I have a really good sense of it. Here, I don't. I believe it could be any of those three guys, and I'm kind of just going to randomly pick one. Like I said, I believe Javon is going to get that title match and win at Stand and Deliver. I don't know why you would do it beforehand. You need to build him up to that moment. And you also cannot have him challenge, whether it's Saints or Femi, for that title again and lose. Because then that would be 2 title losses in, 3-4 months? And then he's going to get a third at Stand and Deliver. He wouldn't deserve it. He'd have to win another, major number 1 contendership type of match. So I'm going to cross out Javon. Lennox, I think he's too new into the single scene to have him win. Think about Ren Sinclair was in the women's match last year. She was bubbled up for it when previously she hadn't been in that position. She didn't end up doing that much in the match. Disappointing, and frankly, she hasn't done much over the last 12 months either, which is even more disappointing than that. So Lennox is kind of in that role where he's the newbie here. And I don't think you're putting someone brand new into this spot and having them win. So I'm going with Joe Hendry, who you could argue should be the last person winning a match like this. But to me, he's the one who makes the most sense. You put Oba over him. or Ricky Saints over him, excuse me, because I have Ricky retaining the title. You put Ricky over him at New Year's Evil, and then Joe can maybe go into the mid-card and beat Ethan Page for the North American Championship. That, to me, makes a lot more sense. So, for the first Iron Survivor, Joe Hendry is the prediction here. Women's Iron Survivor Challenge. Sol Ruca, Lola Vice, Jordan Grace, Kalani Jordan, and Kendall Gray. The women did a summit in the ring on NXT. Sol said she wouldn't normally listen to Ethan Page, but him calling her a world championship caliber talent last week was motivation, and she can get her mojo back by winning this match and the title. Grace said she was unstoppable. She'd run through a brick wall if necessary. Vice said she believes in herself. Grace said she's the only actual champion in the ring. True, she has the Evolve title. Lonnie rightfully got booed as the lone heel, but she didn't flinch one iota. She powered through it like a boss. It was maybe the most impressive work she's ever done on the mic because she didn't get rattled in the moment. The promo was shit. Don't get it twisted. And for her, it's always one step forward, one step back. But I was much more focused here on her not losing her place and powering through and saying exactly what she needed to say and not getting rattled, anything like that. That to me shows more growth than cutting a perfect promo that gets a ton of heel heat when you're still her and you're still developing. I've said it many times. Lonnie has talent. Her arrow is pointing up. She is nowhere near ready for the main roster. Like, she's probably 18 months to 2 years away. And I know she's been in NXT forever. It's just what's happening with her progression. Some do it faster than others. Look at Kendall Gray. I'm not saying she could be on the main roster, but if you told me she would be ready for it in 6 months, I'd believe you. Lonnie, I would not believe you in that case. Fatal Influence interrupted with JC Jane talking shit, trying to wedge drive, which kind of worked between Grace and Lonnie. They brawled out of the ring as the other faces fought with Influence. That was all done for a 6-woman tag team match on the show, I presumed. But the segment was rolling much better until Fatal Influence came out. Not generally a fan of summits like this when the people involved aren't actually feuding with one another. In this case, only 2 of the 6 fit that bill, but it did well enough to run through some motivations and goals ahead of the match itself. Sol backstage apologized to Zarya for not being by her side last week, saying she was in her head about losing to Blake Monroe. Zarya was sarcastic, saying clearly Sol has already found some new friends as she was preparing for the match with the other girls. How many times is Sol going to wrestle with other people and Zarya going to be upset that she has other friends? Friendship is not a one-way street. You don't only have to be friends with one individual person. You can have multiple friends. And that's why there's different vibes when it comes to their relationship than, let's say, other friendships that are on the show. Anyway, she said she was angry about this, so she wouldn't be ringside for this match. When Kendall said that she would have Sol's back instead, Zarya obviously got angry. As far as Zarya is concerned, she did well here. The question remains where all this is going and whether the payoff will be worth the journey. Ruca turning heel, to me, it still makes a lot more sense than Zarya doing it. So we had Ruca, Vice, and Gray against Influence. Bunch of high-risk moves outside early. Influence worked well together. It just reminded how ridiculous it is that they're not on the main roster. Lola got a hot tag filled with quick kicks. Sol hit a rare shoulder breaker. You don't really see that move in 2025. Ruca then ate a blockbuster and a double running knee as tagging kind of stopped for a bit. Gray hit an awesome flatliner. Fallon Henley ate a pendulum X Factor. Jane then missed rolling encore with Ruca landing Soul Snatcher as she bounced off the ropes to pin the champion. The talent in this match was ridiculous. Lainey Reed was clearly the weak point. Henley was probably the MVP. Really, though, all 6 of them played their parts well, and the final couple minutes were wrestled at a frenetic pace. But man, the finish here, sometimes I sit there and wonder whether people in WWE Creative are going over their work. I mean, when I submit something at my job, I review it to make sure it's exactly how I want. Like, I do the work, then I review it before I hit send. This as a match preceding an Iron Survivor challenge that is going to determine a number 1 contender was booked in a way that boggles my mind. Why would you beat your champion in this match? Sol basically made herself number 1 contender already without going through the Iron Survivor. If Braun Breaker gets a World Heavyweight Championship match for pinning CM Punk in War Games, why wouldn't Sol get one after this? Why does she even need Iron Survivor at this point? Like, is anyone thinking that through? Why would you not just beat Lainey here, who is nothing? Still, 3.75 stars B+. The match was great. The only way I can justify this is if Sol does not win at Iron Survivor and they bubble her up as a number 1 contender after New Year's Evil. But I can't imagine them addressing a 6-woman tag team result 6 weeks later. So the faces were celebrating ringside after the bell. Zarya ran in, straight speared Kendall out of her boots, cut her ass in half. Underrated spear Zarya has, by the way. Commentary suggested she was aiming for Sol, but that didn't exactly play. Ruca got into a shoving match afterward. Lola held them apart. The post-match didn't really make sense. She was just charging into a group of faces. For what reason exactly? Jealousy that someone else was getting Sol's back, that Ruca had any friend other than her. It just felt like a completely unnecessary addition to this particular segment on this particular show. Considering Zarya, she's not going to have any involvement with Deadline given the rules of Iron Survivor. If Sol was going into a title match, okay, maybe I could see it, but not Iron Survivor. There was also a hysterical camera cut here. So Zarya spears Kendall, and they cut to JC in the ring, who is smiling and panting. I mean, frankly, as if she just got off.
That's the most action I've had all year.
It was just a very funny visual is all I'm trying to say. So that wraps up what happened on NXT. Now let's go ahead and predict Women's Iron Survivor, and let's do it in the same way we did the men, a process of elimination. So you have Kendall Gray, who's the Evolve champion, and she's really just started to show up regularly on NXT. Similar to Ren Sinclair last year and Deion Lennox in the men's match, we immediately cut her out. Kalani Jordan is coming off of being TNA champion. She's also a heel. There's no reason for her to win this match whatsoever. We cross her off. Jordan Grace has had multiple world championship opportunities in terms of the NXT title, the TNA Knockouts title recently. She's lost them all. The only way to have her win this that would make sense is if she then beats JC at New Year's Evil. But JC just won the title back from Tatum Paxley. So I don't believe she's going to be dropping the title at New Year's Evil. It would make a lot more sense for that to happen either at Vengeance Day or perhaps again at Stand and Deliver. Also, Grace and Lonnie are still feuding. So they can feud in this match, cost each other the win, and then continue feuding afterward and maybe do a blow off between them that Jordan hopefully wins. When I say Jordan, I mean Grace in that point. So I'm going to eliminate her as well. That brings us to Sol Ruca and Lola Vice. Lola just challenged for the title at No Mercy in Fort Lauderdale. She's in the exact same spot that Miles Bourne is. Are you really going to give her another opportunity and have her win this match? No, I don't think you are. You eliminate her. That only leaves Sol Ruca as the person who can win this match. And given the storyline that you're telling with Zarya, it makes the most sense. She wins Women's Iron Survivor. She goes into New Year's Evil. Zarya either costs her the title or Sol loses the title because Zarya is there and blames Zarya for it. And then Sol turns heel. That's the way I'm going with my prediction. She makes the most sense. And again, she beat JC already in this 6-woman tag team match. And as I mentioned, it wouldn't make sense to do that, not make her number one contender, and then bubble that up as a reason for her to get a title match 6 weeks later. It doesn't work. So for those reasons, I have to go with Sol Ruca winning the Women's Iron Survivor. I do believe, like I said, the men main event the show. I believe we get a confrontation possibly between Ricky Saints or Oba Femi and the winner. It would probably make more sense if it was Oba and Hendry and Ricky and Javon, but I just don't believe Javon winning that match makes sense because I don't believe they're going to put the title on him. If he does win this match, let's just kind of put this out there. If he wins Men's Iron Survivor, whoever is champion going into New Year's Evil, he needs to win the title. But I think it would be a huge waste to strap him up on a TV special. So there's myriad ways they can get around it. He can get the match, look like he's about to win, and then get screwed by a heel. Dark State could interfere. Like, they could do a million things. But assuming things are going to be relatively clean, those are the predictions going into NXT Deadline. In terms of a pre-show expectation grade, look, let's be real candid. While I may not love the 10 specific competitors who are in the Iron Survivor matches, this match type is phenomenal. And all of them have delivered. I from a grading standpoint, I don't believe I've given a B+, lower than a B+, to any of them. They've all delivered in one way or another. A couple of them have been like high A matches. Maybe one was even an A+. So these are carrying the show, and I'm massively excited for both of those. Ricky Saints and Oba Femi to me is a huge match. I love it. Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, big feud blow off. Tatum getting another PLE match, hugely positive. Ethan Page and Mr. Iguana, that's the fun part. Ethan Page, he's been in some of these matches recently, don't forget. El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. stole the show at Halloween Havoc. Like, it was the best match on the entire card. So even though this is like the least built and least important on the entire show, it's not going to steal this show. Let's be candid. But it could completely over-deliver to expectations. So I'm pretty freaking high going into the show. I'm going to say a 92 out of 100 in A-. I'm trying to temper my expectations a little bit, actually, because I think this could be like the NXT show of the year, potentially, if the matches are incredible and if it's booked properly. But, of course, we will have to see what happens on Saturday when we will again have your NXT Deadline Instant Analysis podcast. It's championship weekend in college football. The Silver King is going to ensure he makes that happen. So join us on Saturday. It'll be the third episode of the week. And again, for anyone listening, you're missing AEW, which is normally part of this episode. We will do a double dose of AEW next week right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. 2 weeks of Dynamite, 2 weeks of Collision. I presume the vast majority of it is going to be the Continental Classic and the Women's Tag Team Tournament. We'll do as much as we can next week. We'll talk NXT. I'll watch the Ariel Helwani interview with Tony Khan. We'll also talk the TNA TV deal, which I was going to do at the beginning of the show. I completely forgot now that I'm thinking about it. We'll talk about the TNA TV deal next week. And if I have time, this will be the bottom of the things on my list. If I have time, I'll also watch those AAA shows that involved NXT and WWE talent. And we'll try to do a mega Thursday episode, same bat time, same bat channel, right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. On the way out, I did forget to remind you that here,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. We would greatly appreciate your financial support as we continue this podcast. Again, buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can vote in pre- and post-show polls, your pre-show expectation grade and your post-show grade for NXT Deadline this coming Saturday on YouTube. When you subscribe over there, you can listen to full-length audio episodes and watch full-length video interviews. Lastly, please remember,
It's all about Defy.
head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you as well for understanding the Silver King's time crunch this week. We will be back on Saturday, again on Tuesday. We'll have a special edition of the show next week, John Cena's retirement edition. It's complete career retrospective. That'll be coming. We're going to have your bonus, extra, supersized AEW and NXT show, and then we will have your WWE Saturday Night's Main Event instant analysis. So there's an absolute ton of performance-enhancing audio coming its way to your ear holes. And that was not the pun I wanted to make at all. But it is time for the Silver King to sign off and leave you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.